Over 60 years on sale, and the Ford Mustang has never once been the fastest, the most powerful, or the most technologically advanced car in its class. And yet it remains the best-selling sports car in American history. That contradiction alone tells you everything about why this car matters, and why its story is unlike anything else in automotive history. In the next 10 minutes, you are going to discover how a car born from corporate politics, budget constraints, and one man's relentless ambition became a genuine cultural icon. You will learn about the near-death experiences that almost erased the Mustang from existence, the radical reinventions that saved it, and the one decision made in 1964 that nobody in the auto industry thought would work, a decision that ended up rewriting the rules of how cars are designed, marketed, and sold in America forever. The story of the Ford Mustang begins not on a racetrack, but in a boardroom. By the early 1960s, Ford Motor Company was watching a massive demographic shift happening right in front of them. The baby boom generation was coming of age, and millions of young Americans were entering the car market for the very first time. These buyers did not want their parents' cars. They wanted something that felt exciting, something that felt personal, something that felt like it belonged to them. Lee Iacocca, then a young and ambitious Ford executive, recognized this opportunity before almost anyone else inside the company. He had been watching European sports cars gain traction with younger buyers, and he believed Ford needed a response. His vision was precise. A car that looked sporty and exciting, but was built on existing, inexpensive components to keep the price low. A car that could be customized with a huge list of options, so every buyer could feel like they were getting something unique. And critically, a car that had to cost under $2,500 at the base level. That last requirement was the hardest to achieve. Iacocca and his team, working closely with designer Gene Bourdonnais and engineer Don Fry, spent months finding ways to cut costs without cutting the feeling of excitement. They pulled heavily from the Ford Falcon platform, using its chassis, its engine mounts, and much of its basic engineering. This meant the Mustang could be developed relatively quickly and cheaply, but it also meant some significant compromises. The early Mustang was not a precision sports car. It was a sporty-looking compact with a genuine options list that let buyers dress it up into whatever they wanted it to be. The Ford Mustang officially went on sale on April 17, 1964. Ford had initially projected first-year sales of 100,000 units. They were spectacularly wrong. In the first day alone, dealers across America were overwhelmed. 22,000 Mustangs were sold in the first 24 hours of availability. By the end of the first model year, Ford had sold over 400,000 units. Within 2 years, cumulative sales crossed the 1 million mark. Nothing like this had ever happened before in automotive history. The Mustang did not just succeed. It created an entirely new market segment, one that the industry would eventually call the pony car segment, named directly after the Mustang itself. But here is what nobody talks about. The Mustang's first major crisis came not from competition, but from its own success. The car's runaway popularity led Ford executives to push for bigger, heavier versions to justify higher price points and bigger profit margins. The 1971 Mustang was a completely different animal from the original. It was wider, longer, and significantly heavier. Purists hated it. Sales began to fall. Then came the oil crisis of 1973. Fuel prices spiked, consumer priorities shifted dramatically overnight, and large, fuel-hungry American cars suddenly felt deeply out of step with the times. Ford responded in 1974 by completely redesigning the Mustang around the subcompact Ford Pinto platform. The result was the Mustang II. It was smaller, more economical, and by almost every performance measure, deeply underwhelming. It had a 4-cylinder engine as its base option. Critics were brutal. Enthusiasts were furious. And yet, in a cruel twist of irony, the Mustang II sold remarkably well during the fuel crisis years. Practicality trumped passion for a moment in time. By the end of the 1970s, Ford knew something had to change. The Mustang II had kept the nameplate alive, but it had damaged the brand's performance credibility almost beyond recognition. The solution came with the third generation, the Fox Body Mustang, which launched in 1979. The Fox Body brought back a genuine rear-wheel drive platform, a long hood and short deck design that echoed the spirit of the original, and crucially, the return of serious V8 power. The 1979 Mustang with the 5-liter engine became the foundation for one of the most celebrated performance eras in the car's history. Throughout the 1980s, Ford kept developing the Fox body, and the Mustang GT became a genuine American performance benchmark. By 1987, the 5-liter Mustang GT was producing 225 horsepower, which was remarkable value for the money. Enthusiasts tuned these cars heavily, a huge aftermarket industry developed around them, and the Fox body Mustang became one of the most modified cars in American automotive culture. Even today, Fox body Mustangs command serious enthusiasm in the collector car community. The fourth generation arrived in 1994, bringing an updated retro-inspired design that referenced the original 1964 car more consciously. The SN95 platform, as it was internally coated, improved the chassis, added modern safety features, and introduced the iconic tri-bar taillights that became a signature design element going forward. Shelby returned to the Mustang family during this era as well, with the SVT Cobra program producing increasingly powerful limited editions that kept performance enthusiasts deeply engaged. But the true reinvention came with the fifth generation in 2005. Ford made a bold and deliberate choice to go fully retro. The 2005 Mustang's design was a direct visual homage to the 1967 Fastback, with long hip proportions, pronounced rear haunches, and styling details that made the connection to the original car unmistakable. The response was enormous. The 2005 Mustang was named Motor Trend Car of the Year. Sales surged. Ford had successfully repositioned the Mustang as a heritage brand with modern performance capability. The 2011 model year brought the Boss 302 back to life, a nameplate that carried enormous emotional weight with Mustang enthusiasts. The Boss 302 of 2011 through 2012 was genuinely extraordinary, with a high-revving naturally aspirated engine borrowed from development work on the GT race car program. It produced 444 horsepower and handled with a precision that earlier Mustangs had never approached. The sixth generation, launched for 2015, was arguably the most significant Mustang since the original. For the first time in history, Ford offered the Mustang globally as a right-hand drive vehicle, sold in markets including the United Kingdom, Australia, Germany, and Japan. The car also made a major engineering leap, finally replacing the solid rear axle with an independent rear suspension. This change had been debated internally at Ford for decades. Traditionalists argued the solid axle was part of the Mustang's character. Engineers argued it was a limitation. The independent rear suspension won, and the result was a car that could finally compete with European sports cars on their own technical terms. The Shelby GT350, launched in 2015, pushed the sixth generation's engineering to its absolute limit. It featured a flat-plane crankshaft 5.2-liter naturally aspirated V8 that revved to 8,250 RPM and produced 526 horsepower. Automotive journalists universally praised it as the finest Mustang ever built at the time of its release. Then in 2024, Ford did something that would have seemed unthinkable to the Mustang faithful just a few years earlier. They attached the Mustang name to an all-electric SUV, the Mustang Mach-E. The decision generated enormous controversy. Purists argued it diluted the brand. Supporters argued it extended it. The debate continues. What is not debatable is the fact that the Mustang name carries enough cultural capital that Ford believed it could anchor an entirely new product category in the electric vehicle market. The Mustang has survived oil crises, corporate short-sightedness, changing consumer tastes, generational shifts, and 60 years of relentless competition. Before you go, if you learned something valuable today, hit that like button right now. Subscribe to AutoVision Daily for a brand new video every single day. We will see you in the next one.